1 month after the battle began, the war with the Void Claw was over. Their mighty fleets had retreated to their home systems. For the first time in Galactic Council history, a peace treaty was signed with the Void Claw Empire. In the Great Council chamber, all members gathered for a special session. The mood was different now. No one was laughing at the humans. Ambassador Taho Kim stood in the center of the chamber. Beside him were Commander Hyunjin Choi and the rest of the human team that had changed the course of the war. High Counselor Drazek's voice filled the chamber. We are here today to acknowledge what many thought impossible: the defeat of the Void Claw invasion and the defense of Council space. He looked directly at the humans. We are also here to admit our error in judgment. We measured Earth's military strength by our own standards, by technology, by physical power, by fleet size. In doing so, we failed to see what truly makes humans formidable. The chamber was silent. Even those council members who had opposed Earth's membership listened carefully. Humans possess qualities we had not properly valued, Drazek continued. Adaptability, creativity, endurance, the ability to function through pain and hardship, the willingness to change tactics rather than follow tradition. He lifted a ceremonial staff. Today, by unanimous vote, Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council with special recognition of its military contribution. Applause filled the chamber. Even the Draconians, Merlaxians, and Voth, who had once armed the Void Claw against Earth, joined in. They had seen what humans could do, both as enemies and allies. It was better to have them as the latter. After the ceremony, Taho found himself surrounded by alien representatives eager to establish trade and cultural exchanges with Earth. What had once been dismissed as a primitive planet was now seen as a valuable ally. They're afraid of us, Minho observed quietly to Hyunjin as they watched the diplomats swarm around Taho. Yes, Hyunjin agreed, but they respect us too. That's a good start. In the days that followed, things moved quickly. Council technology would be shared with Earth. Human military experts would train Council forces in adaptive tactics. Cultural exchange programs were established. But perhaps the most significant change came in how the Council approached warfare itself. For centuries, they had relied on superior technology and strict protocols. Now they began to study human military history, learning from Earth's long experience with conflict. I still don't understand something, Drazek said to Yona Han, the human medic who had saved Thraxian lives. Humans fight wars against each other. You've caused great suffering on your own planet, yet you risk your lives to save Council worlds you've never even seen. Yona smiled gently. That's the paradox of humanity, Counselor. We can be terribly cruel, but we can also be deeply compassionate. We fight fiercely, but we also heal. We are capable of both great destruction and great creation. On their last day on the Council station, the human team gathered to say goodbye. Many would stay to help implement the new defense strategies, but some would return to Earth. They laughed at us when we arrived, said Sunny, looking around at the aliens who now nodded respectfully as they passed. Not anymore, said Jihoon with a grin. As their shuttle prepared to leave, Colonel Jinyoung looked out at the vast starfield. Do you think we've changed anything beyond just winning a war? He asked Yumna. She nodded. The Council has existed for thousands of years, following the same patterns. Now they're learning to adapt and change. In some ways, that's an even greater victory. In the pilot's seat, Doyen Ryu started the launch sequence. Where to next, Commander? He asked Hyunjin. Hyunjin smiled as he looked at his team. These ordinary humans who had proven extraordinary when tested. Home first, he said. Earth should hear the good news. And then, the galaxy is waiting. As the shuttle pulled away from the station, messages poured in from Council ships. Not orders or formal communications, but something new. Words of respect, of thanks, of comradeship. The species that had once laughed at Earth's army now stood as allies beside its human soldiers. and the galaxy would never be the same again. High Counselor Drazak stood alone in his command center, staring at the holographic map before him. Red dots were spreading across the display, marking Voidclaw fleet movements. There were too many of them, moving too fast. An aide rushed in, holding a data tablet. "The reports are confirmed, High Counselor. The Voidclaw have launched a major offensive. 3 Council worlds are already under attack. 5 more will be reached within days." Drazak's stone-like face showed no emotion, but his yellow eyes dimmed. "Our simulations all show the same outcome," the aide said quietly. "Complete defeat. Our standard defense protocols cannot stop a force this size." For the first time in his 200 years of life, Drazak felt fear. The Council had grown comfortable, relying on the same tactics and technologies for centuries. The Voidclaw had clearly been preparing for this moment. "There is one option we haven't tried," Drazak said finally. "Bring me the humans." An hour later, Commander Hyunjin and his team stood in the command center, looking at the same holographic map. "This is the real reason you've been testing us," Hyunjin said. It wasn't a question. Drazak nodded. "The Voidclaw have been growing stronger for years. Now they've launched an attack we cannot stop. Our military advisors have no solution." "So now you want our help," said Minho, studying the map with sharp eyes. After laughing at us. "Yes," Drazak admitted. "We need ideas our enemies won't expect." Hyunjin looked at his team. "We'll need full access to all information about Council defenses and Voidclaw tactics." "Granted," said Drazak immediately. Through the night, the humans worked. They barely spoke, each focused on their tasks. Minho analyzed Voidclaw attack patterns. Yunha studied Council defense capabilities. Jihoon examined the technical specifications of Council ships. As morning approached, Drazak returned to find the humans still working. They had not stopped to rest. "How can your bodies function without sleep?" he asked. "Coffee," said Jihoon, holding up a cup of dark liquid. "And adrenaline. We know what's at stake." Finally, Commander Hyunjin called the team together. Using the holographic display, he showed a completely new defense plan. "You want to abandon the outer worlds?" Drazak asked in shock. "Those are Council territories." "Temporarily," Hyunjin explained. "The Voidclaw expect you to defend every planet. That's why they'll win. Your forces are spread too thin. Instead," continued Yuna, "we create a trap. We make them think they've won easily. We let them extend their supply lines." Minho pointed to key positions on the map. "Then we hit them here, here, and here. Not their warships, but their supply vessels. An army can't fight if it can't eat." "These aren't conventional tactics," said Drazak, studying the plan. "The Council military would never suggest this." "That's why it will work," said Sunny. "The Voidclaw know all your standard responses. They don't know ours." Jihoon showed Drazak a design for modifying Council ships. "We can make your transport vessels look like debris. Hide fighters inside them. The Voidclaw won't scan what they think is garbage." Drazak was silent for a long time. The plan required abandoning Council doctrine that had existed for 1,000 years. It meant fighting in ways that seemed dishonorable to his people, using deception, ambushes, and guerrilla tactics. "In human history," said Hyunjin gently, "we learned that when fighting for survival, there is no dishonor in victory." "Many Council members will oppose this plan," Drazak said at last. "They fear your species' ways." "They should," said Minho. "But right now, they should fear the Voidclaw more." Drazak made his decision. "I will present your plan to the Council, not as a suggestion, but as our new strategy." As the humans left to prepare, Drazak stopped Hyunjin. "There is something I don't understand. Why help us? Many on the Council wanted to leave Earth to the Voidclaw." Hyunjin's face was serious. "Because humans understand something your Council has forgotten. In the face of extinction, Everyone is on the same side. Commander Hyunjin Choi stood in the war room of Earth's defense headquarters, looking at the faces of the soldiers before him. These men and women were Earth's best hope. "The Galactic Council has given us one chance to prove ourselves," he said, his voice firm. "They think we are weak. They expect us to fail. We will show them how wrong they are." On the big screen behind him, pictures of strange alien creatures flashed by. The Council had sent information about the test they would face. It wasn't good news. "They have rated us as a Class D military threat," said Hyunjin, pointing to a chart. "That's the lowest rating possible. They think we are less dangerous than the Zorn, a species that doesn't even have weapons." Minho Lee raised his hand. He was small for a soldier, but his mind was sharp. He could see patterns in battle that others missed. "Sir, if they think so little of us, won't they be careless?" he asked. Hyunjin smiled. "That's exactly what we're counting on, Lieutenant Lee." Sun Hee Kang sat in the corner, taking apart and rebuilding a small device. Her fingers moved fast, like they had minds of their own. She was the best with explosives and traps. If it could blow up, she could make it better. "What kind of test are we facing, sir?" she asked without looking up from her work. "The Council wants to see us in action," Hyunjin replied. "They're sending a ship to take us to a training moon. We'll face challenges designed for species much stronger and more advanced than humans." Do-Yun Ryu stood up. He was the quietest of the group, but he could move without making a sound and see things others missed. "How many of us are going?" 10, said Hyunjin. "The Council wouldn't allow more. They said it's all the humans they need to see to make their judgment." The soldiers looked at each other. 10 humans to save Earth's future. The pressure was heavy on their shoulders. "We leave tomorrow," Hyunjin continued. "Pack light. Bring only what you can carry. The Council won't help us with extra equipment." Later that night, Ambassador Taho Kim visited the team. His face was worried. "I've received more information," he said, handing Hyunjin a small device. "The Council has set us up to fail. No Class D species has ever passed their tests." Hyunjin looked at the data. "They're not testing us fairly." "No," agreed Taho. "But that's not the worst news. Look at this." He showed them images of Earth's outposts that had been attacked. The destruction was worse than they had been told. "The Void Claw are getting closer," Taho said. "If we don't get the Council's protection, Earth could be next. We have 2 months, maybe less." Juwoo Park, who had been at the Council meeting, spoke up. "There's something else you should know. I overheard 2 Council members talking. Some of them are helping the Void Claw. They want to see Earth fall." The room went quiet. The situation was even worse than they thought. "Why would they do that?" asked Sunny. "Fear," said Tayo. "Some species in the Council are afraid of what humans might become. They've studied our history, our wars, our quick progress from stones to space. They think we're dangerous." "They're right," said Hyunjin, his face hard. "We can be very dangerous when we need to be." The next morning, the 10 chosen soldiers stood before the alien ship. Each carried a small pack with basic supplies. No advanced weapons, no power armor, nothing that would impress the Council with technology. "Remember," Hyunjin said as they prepared to board, "they're watching us from the moment we step on this ship. Everything is a test." "What exactly are we supposed to do, Commander?" asked a nervous young soldier. Hyunjin looked at his team, his eyes bright with determination. "We're going to show the galaxy what humans can do, and we're going to make them very, very nervous." The Void Claw ships moved through space like hungry predators. Their black hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it. Their weapons could tear through most shields in seconds. Colonel Jin Young-seo watched them from the bridge of a modified Council ship. Once a simple cargo vessel, it now carried hidden weapons and a crew of both humans and aliens. The ship looked damaged from the outside, just another piece of space debris. "They're taking the bait," Jin Young said, watching the Void Claw fleet pass by. just as we predicted. The council had followed the human plan, though many members had protested. They had pulled back from the outer worlds, making it look like they were retreating in panic. The Void Claw had pushed forward quickly, eager to claim easy victories. Now their supply lines stretched thin across too much space. "All ships in position," reported a Thraxian officer, his four hands moving quickly over the controls. "Waiting for your command." Jinyum took a deep breath. This would be the first real test of the human strategy. If it failed, the council would lose faith in them. "Begin Operation Trojan," he ordered. Across 3 different sectors of space, dozens of seemingly abandoned ships suddenly came to life. They targeted not the massive Voidclaw warships, but the smaller, lightly defended supply vessels. On one of those supply routes, communications specialist Minji An sat surrounded by alien technology. For weeks, she had been studying Voidclaw communication patterns. Now she put that knowledge to use. "Sending false orders now," she said to her team. "Their ships will think they're being called to different locations." The Voidclaw, who relied on strict command structures and precise orders, fell into confusion. Some ships turned away from their routes. Others stopped to wait for confirmation. The carefully organized invasion began to fall apart. The Voidclaw commanders tried to regain control. They sent clear orders to all ships: continue the attack as planned. Ignore all other commands. But it was too late. The human plan had created too much chaos. On the front lines, the Voidclaw faced another surprise. Instead of meeting council ships in open space as expected, they found themselves pulled into tight formations by small, fast fighters. Once bunched together, they were easier targets. "They're fighting like animals, not soldiers," complained a Voidclaw general to his leader. "They hide. They trick. They don't follow proper battle protocols. They fight like humans," the Voidclaw leader replied grimly. "I was warned about them." For 3 days, the battle raged across multiple star systems. The Council forces, now fighting with human tactics, struck quickly and vanished before the Voidclaw could respond. They targeted communication systems. They used decoys and false signals. They attacked when the Voidclaw crew would be tired. On the main Council battleship, High Counselor Drazek received reports from all fronts. For the first time in decades, they were good news. "The Voidclaw are retreating from the Proxima sector," an aide reported. "Their supply lines have been cut. Their ships are running out of fuel and ammunition." "And our losses?" asked Drazek. "Minimal. We've lost some ships, but far fewer than the simulations predicted." Drazek turned to Commander Gunjan, who stood quietly nearby. "Your strategy is working," he admitted, "but I don't understand why. The Voidclaw have better ships, better weapons. How are we winning?" "Because war isn't just about technology," Gunjan explained. "It's about psychology. The Voidclaw expected you to fight in certain ways because you always have. When you changed the rules, they couldn't adapt quickly enough." In a distant sector, Colonel Jinyam's ship finally faced a Voidclaw battlecruiser directly. His small vessel should have been destroyed in seconds, but the Voidclaw ship had been cut off from supplies for days. Its weapons were at half power. Its crew was confused and tired. "Fire when ready," Jinyam ordered calmly. His ship's hidden weapons powered up and fired at the much larger vessel. The Voidclaw shields, already weakened, collapsed under the assault. "They're signaling surrender," reported the Thraxian officer in surprise. "I've never seen a Voidclaw vessel surrender before." Jinyam smiled. "That's because no one ever gave them a reason to before today." The alien ship landed with a soft thud on the surface of Keltoria's moon. The door opened, releasing a cloud of purple gas. Commander Hyunjin stepped out first, his face masked tight against his skin. "Gravity check," he said, taking a careful step. His body felt 3 times heavier than on Earth. Each movement took great effort. Just as they said, triple Earth's gravity. The rest of the team followed him out. They moved slowly, their muscles straining against the crushing weight of their own bodies. A hologram appeared in front of them. It was High Counselor Drazek, his red stone face showing no emotion. "Welcome to Test Zone K7, his voice boomed. "This moon's atmosphere is toxic to most life forms. Its gravity is 3 times that of your planet. Your task is simple. Reach the beacon on the far side before the second sun sets." The hologram showed a map with a blinking light about 20 kilometers away. "No species with your classification has ever completed this challenge," Drazek continued. "We will be watching." The hologram vanished. The humans were alone on the alien moon. "They didn't even give us proper equipment," muttered Sunny, adjusting her mask. "These filters will only last 10 hours in this atmosphere." Minho was studying the landscape. "The shortest path goes through that canyon," he said, pointing. "But I bet that's where they'll put obstacles. Or we could go around," suggested Doyun, squinting at the horizon. "Longer, but maybe safer." Hyunjin looked at the 2 suns in the sky. One was already starting to sink. "We don't have time to go around. The canyon it is." They moved as fast as they could, which wasn't very fast at all. The heavy gravity made each step a battle. Their breath came in short gasps. Sweat poured down their faces inside their masks. "This is impossible," said one of the younger soldiers. "No human can walk 20 kilometers in this gravity before sunset." "Then we won't walk," said Hyunjin. He stopped and pointed to a cluster of strange, flat creatures sliding across the rocky ground. They were the size of cars, with smooth bottoms and rough, ridged tops. "We'll ride." It took an hour to catch the creatures. Another hour to figure out how to control them by pressing on certain spots on their backs. But once the humans were riding, they moved much faster. "The Council thinks we'll try to overpower the challenges," Minho said as they glided across the moon's surface. "They don't expect us to adapt." The canyon was worse than they imagined. Sharp rocks jutted from the ground. Strange plants released clouds of burning spores. Twice they had to backtrack and find new paths. Then they reached the river of acid. "This wasn't on the map," said Sunny, watching the bubbling liquid eat through a rock she threw in. "We can't cross this." Doyun had wandered off and was examining the canyon wall. "Over here," he called. "There's a narrow ledge. We might be able to use it to get across." The ledge was barely wide enough for their feet. Below it, the acid river hissed and bubbled. One slip would mean death. "I'll go first," said Hyunjin. "Follow exactly where I step." Inch by inch, they moved along the ledge. The heavy gravity threatened to pull them off balance. Their masks began to show warning lights as the filters struggled against the toxic air. "The second sun is starting to set," warned Minho, glancing at the sky. Finally, they reached the other side. Exhausted, they continued their journey. Their riding creatures were growing tired too, moving slower with each passing minute. As the second sun touched the horizon, they saw it, the beacon glowing on top of a small hill. "We're not going to make it," gasped Sunny, looking at the distance still to go. Commander Hyunjin looked at his team. They were tired beyond belief. Their masks were failing. The gravity was crushing them. But they were humans, and humans didn't give up. "Yes, we are," he said, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. "And we're going to show the Council exactly what humans can do when our backs are against the wall." News spread quickly through the Galactic Council. The humans had reached the beacon on Keltoria's moon with just minutes to spare. No Class D species had ever done that before. Director Zhao Wenyun sat in his small office on the Council station. As Earth's diplomatic officer, he was supposed to be building relationships with alien species. Instead, he was being avoided. "They're afraid," said Ju Park, who had just returned from a meeting. "Our soldiers did too well. Now the Council is worried." Zhao Wan nodded. "I've noticed, but there's something else going on. Look at this." He showed her images on his screen. They were shipping records, supply manifests, and flight paths. "I've been tracking Council ships," he explained. 3 different Council species have been sending weapons to the Voidclaw Empire. Juwoo's eyes widened. "Which ones?" The Draconians, the Merlaxians, and the Voth. All three voted against our membership. All three have military seats on the council. We need to tell Commander Kunjin, said Juwu. His team is about to face their second challenge. In the training arena on the station's lower level, Hyunjin's team was preparing for whatever test would come next. They had been given 1 day to recover from Keltoria's moon. It wasn't enough. Yanahan, the team's medic, moved from soldier to soldier. Her gentle hands wrapped injuries, applied medicine, and checked vital signs. You should be resting too, she told Minho, who was studying maps of the station. Can't, he replied. The next test will be harder. They're angry that we passed the first one. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Training accident in Sector 7, announced a computerized voice. Medical assistance required. Yona grabbed her medical bag. That's where the Thraxian team is training. I need to go. It could be a trap, warned Sunny. Or it could be people who need help, said Yona. She ran toward the door. After a moment's hesitation, Hyunjin and Minho followed her. They found a scene of chaos in Sector 7. A training device had malfunctioned, injuring several Thraxian soldiers. The Thraxians were tall, four-armed aliens with blue skin. Their own medics stood back, unable to stop the strange purple blood flowing from the wounds. Without hesitation, Yana rushed forward. I need clean cloths and water, she ordered, kneeling beside the most badly injured Thraxian. The alien medics stared in confusion. Our blood is toxic to most species, one mourned. I'm wearing gloves, Yona said, already working to close a wound. And these soldiers need help now. For 2 hours, Yelena worked alongside the alien medics, teaching them techniques from Earth for stopping blood loss and preventing shock. By the time it was over, all the injured Thraxians were stable. We have never seen medicine like this, said the Thraxian captain, his 4 arms crossed in a gesture of respect. You saved lives today. Word of the humans' actions spread through the station. Some council members were impressed. Others were worried. In his private chamber, High Counselor Drazek met with representatives from the Draconians, Merlaxians, and Voth. The humans are proving unexpected, said the Draconian, his scaled face twitching with annoyance. They are still weak, insisted the Voth. Their bodies break easily. Their technology is primitive. Yet they passed the Keltoria test. Drazek reminded them. And now they've shown medical skills beyond what we expected. The next test must be harder, said the Merlaxian. We cannot allow Earth into the Council. They are too unpredictable. Drazek's yellow eyes narrowed. Is that why you've been arming the Void Claw? To keep Earth vulnerable. The 3 representatives fell silent. I know about the weapon shipments, Drazek continued. What I don't know is why 3 council members would risk everything to keep one primitive planet out. The Voth leaned forward. You've read their history, Drazek. Humans fight wars against themselves. They kill their own kind over resources, territory, even ideas. Imagine what they would do to other species if given the chance. The Void Claw will destroy them, the Draconian said. It's better this way. Drazek was not convinced. Perhaps we're making a dangerous mistake. Either way, the testing continues. Tomorrow, we'll see what humans do when truly threatened. After the Void Claw attack, the Council changed its approach. Now they wanted to see exactly what humans could do in battle. They set up a series of war games, simulated battles where Earth's soldiers would face the best warriors from other Council species. Engineer Ji-hoon Baek sat in the preparation room, taking apart a standard-issue cleaning robot. Around him, the other human soldiers prepared their limited weapons for the upcoming test. What are you doing? Asked Minho, watching Ji-hoon's quick fingers remove wires and small parts from the robot. Making us some help, Ji-hoon said with a smile. They said we could use anything in this room. They didn't say we couldn't change how things work. Within an hour, Ji-hoon had turned the cleaning robot into a small drone that could fly ahead and map the battlefield. He had also modified the room's lighting panels into bright flash devices that could temporarily blind enemies. "Is that allowed?" Do-Yun asked, looking at Ji-hoon's creations with concern. "They didn't say it wasn't," replied Hyunjin. "And we'll need every advantage. The Draconians we're facing today have natural armor and can see heat signatures. They've won every wargame for the past 3 years." The wargame arena was a maze of walls, tunnels, and open spaces. Each team had a base to defend and a flag to capture. The weapons fired paint that would register as a kill if it hit a vital area. From the viewing platform above, council members watched with interest. Among them was Yoon Song, Earth's strategic analyst. She had been studying recordings of previous wargames. "The Draconians always use the same tactics," she told Taho and Jawan. "They rely on their strength and natural advantages. Their patterns are predictable if you know what to look for." "Did you share this with Hyunjin's team?" asked Taho. Yoon-ha nodded. "And I gave them a plan they won't expect." The game began. The Draconians, confident from years of victories, moved in their usual formation, a tight group protected by their strongest warriors. But the humans were nowhere to be seen. "Where are they?" asked a council member, leaning forward to get a better view of the screens. In the arena, the Draconian team moved cautiously toward the human base. They expected an ambush, but nothing happened. When they reached the human flag, it seemed unguarded. "This is too easy," growled the Draconian leader. "Spread out and find them." As soon as the Draconians separated, Ji-hoon's modified cleaning robots moved into position. They weren't weapons, but they created clouds of dust that confused the Draconians' heat vision. From hidden positions, the human team fired precisely at the confused aliens. "They're using the arena itself against us," the Draconian leader realized too late. Within minutes, half the Draconian team was marked as eliminated. The rest retreated to their base to defend their flag. But the humans weren't attacking from the front. Do-Yun had found a maintenance tunnel that ran under the arena. While the Draconians defended against an attack that never came, Sun-hee and Minho emerged inside the Draconian base and captured their flag. The game was over in half the usual time. The Draconians had lost without eliminating a single human. In the viewing area, council members whispered to each other in shock. "They didn't win with strength or advanced weapons," said one. "No," agreed High Counselor Drazek. "They won with intelligence and creativity." Yoon Song looked at the stunned faces around her. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years," she explained. "We've learned that the strongest don't always win. The smartest often do." The council ordered more wargames. Each time, the humans faced different species with different advantages. Each time, Engineer Ji-hoon found ways to turn everyday objects into unexpected tools. Each time, Yoon-ha predicted the enemy's tactics and created plans to counter them. And each time, the humans won. After the 5th victory, High Counselor Drazak approached Commander Gunjin. "Your species lacks natural weapons," he said. "Your bodies are fragile. Your technology is basic. Yet you defeat our best warriors using cleaning robots and light fixtures." Hyunjin smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying. Necessity is the mother of invention. When you don't have the biggest guns, you learn to be more creative with the tools you do have." Drazak's yellow eyes narrowed. "I'm beginning to understand why certain council members fear your kind." The giant ship appeared in the sky over Seoul without warning. It hummed there, silent and still, blocking the sun like a metal cloud. People stopped in the streets. Cars crashed. Phones came out to record the moment that changed Earth forever. "This is not a drill," said President Won over the emergency broadcast. "We have made contact with aliens." 3 days later, Ambassador Taho Kim stood in his office, staring at the strange message on his screen. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They wanted to meet Earth's leaders. Him, specifically. "Sir, the transport is ready," said Lieutenant Ju Park, standing at attention by the door. Her uniform was crisp, her face calm, but Tahoe saw her fingers twitching near her weapon. "How do I look, Lieutenant?" Tahoe straightened his tie. "Diplomatic enough to represent all of humanity." Ju almost smiled. "You'll do fine, sir." The alien shuttle was nothing like Earth's clunky rockets. It moved through space as easily as a fish through water. Through the window, Tahoe watched Earth shrink to a blue marble, then vanish completely. "We're entering their territory now," the alien pilot announced in perfect Korean. "Prepare for arrival at Council Station." The Council Station was a massive ring in space. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like bees around a hive. The shuttle slipped into a docking bay bigger than a football stadium. "Remember," Tahoe whispered to Ju as they prepared to exit, "we are here to ask for help. The Voidclaw Empire has already attacked 3 of our research outposts. We need allies." Ju nodded, her hand never far from her gun. They stepped out into a massive hall filled with creatures from nightmares and dreams. Tall, thin aliens with 4 arms. Short, round ones that seemed to roll rather than walk. Some looked almost human. Others looked like nothing Tahoe had ever seen. "Earth representatives," announced a blue-skinned being with eyes that blinked sideways. "The Council will see you now." The Council chamber was a giant circle. 50 different alien representatives sat in rising tiers, looking down at Tahoe and Ju like they were bugs under a microscope. High Counselor Drazak was easy to spot. 3 meters tall, with skin like red stone and eyes that glowed yellow. His voice boomed through the chamber. "Ambassador Kim of Earth," he said, "your planet has requested membership in our Galactic Council and protection from the Voidclaw Empire." "That is correct, High Counselor," Tahoe said, standing as tall as his human frame would allow. "Earth seeks friendship and alliance with the advanced species of the galaxy." A sound like coughing spread through the chamber. Tahoe realized the aliens were laughing. "Alliance?" said a thin alien with purple skin. "Your species has barely left its own planet. What could Earth possibly offer the Council?" "We have resources," Tahoe said. "Minerals, water, which exist on thousands of uninhabited planets," interrupted another council member. "Try again, human." "We have a military force ready to join the fight against the Voidclaw." Ju spoke up, her voice strong and clear. This time, the laughter was even louder. "Your military." Drazak leaned forward, his yellow eyes scanning Ju from head to toe. "Humans are known to be physically weak, with no natural weapons, poor night vision, and limited strength. Your technology is centuries behind even the Voidclaw." "We have other strengths," Tahoe insisted. "Perhaps," said Drazak, "but the Council requires proof before considering your application. We will test your military capabilities. If your soldiers impress us, we might reconsider." "And if they don't?" asked Tahoe. "Then Earth stands alone against the Voidclaw." Drazak's face showed no emotion. "Your species wouldn't be the first to disappear." As they were escorted out, Ju whispered to Tahoe, "They're underestimating us." "Good," Tahoe replied. "That's always been humanity's secret weapon." Captain Soman checked her small pistol for the 5th time. As head of the Earth delegation's security team, she felt uneasy about tonight's gathering. "You're being paranoid," Ambassador Tahoe told her with a smile. "This is just a dinner. A chance to meet council members in a relaxed setting." "Nothing about this station feels relaxed to me, sir," Soman replied. She had positioned her 4 security officers at key points around the large dining hall. The room glittered with strange lights and was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. "Look," said Tahoe, pointing to a table where Commander Hyunjin and his team sat with the Thraxian soldiers they had helped. "Even our military team is enjoying themselves." Soman nodded but kept her hand near her weapon. Something felt wrong. The feeling grew stronger when the lights suddenly dimmed. A voice announced that a special performance would begin. Smoke filled the stage at the front of the hall. Soman's radio crackled. "Captain, 2 of our guards by the east door aren't responding," reported one of her officers. That was all she needed to hear. "Ambassador," she shouted. "Everyone down." The explosion came just seconds later. The east wall blew inward, sending debris flying across the room. Through the smoke and dust came tall, thin figures with gray skin and glowing red eyes. "Voidclaw," gasped Tahoe, as Salmon pulled him under a table. Panic erupted. Alien diplomats ran in all directions. Council security forces fired at the intruders, but there were too many. The Voidclaw carried weapons that fired bursts of energy that turned whatever they hit to ash. "We need to get the ambassador out," Salmon told her team through the radio. "Rally at the south exit." "Hyunjin, can you hear me?" "I hear you." Commander Hyunjin's voice came through the static. "My team is pinned down on the north side. We can create a distraction if you can get the ambassador out." Salmon looked around. The Voidclaw were between them and the south exit. At least 15 of them, all heavily armed. "We need a plan," she said. Tahoe pointed to the kitchen area. "Service corridors. They run behind the walls. We might be able to use them to get around the Voidclaw." Salmon nodded. "Hyunjin, on my mark. Create your distraction. We're going through the kitchen." "Ready when you are," Hyunjin replied. Salmon waited until a group of Voidclaw moved past their hiding spot. "Now," she whispered into her radio. On the other side of the room, something exploded with a bright flash. Sunhee had used the chemicals from the kitchen to create a bomb. The Voidclaw turned toward the noise and light. "Go," Salmon ordered, pushing Tahoe toward the kitchen. They made it through the door and into the narrow service corridor, but they weren't alone. 2 Voidclaw soldiers appeared at the far end, weapons raised. Salmon fired first. Her pistol wasn't as advanced as their weapons, but it was enough to make them duck for cover. "Run," she shouted to Tahoe and her team. "I'll hold them off." For hours, the battle continued. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. They had no way to call for help. The station's communications were down. By the 3rd hour, Salmon's team had not slept or eaten. They were tired, injured, and running low on ammunition, but they kept fighting. The Voidclaw, used to quick victories, grew frustrated. Their attacks became sloppy. They didn't understand how the humans could keep going without rest. By the 4th hour, Council security finally broke through and joined the fight. Together, they pushed the Voidclaw back. Several of the alien attackers were captured alive, something that had never happened before. When it was over, Captain Salmon stood in the ruined hall, her uniform torn and bloody. High Counselor Drazak approached her, his yellow eyes studying her with new interest. "Your team has been awake and fighting for over 24 hours, he said. "How is this possible?" Salmon smiled tiredly. "Humans can go much longer than that when we need to, Counselor. On Earth, we call it determination." Drazak looked at the captured Voidclaw, then back at the exhausted but still standing humans. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we have been measuring the wrong things when judging your species.